Good morning and welcome back. This morning we're talking about bullying, the dangers, the causes, the warning signs. Our next guest has spent years as a marriage and family therapist, and she is also the CEO of Chris Kids. Kathy Cole Benson here with us this morning, a dear friend, I should say as well. It is so good to have you here this morning.
It's wonderful to be here.
And someone who can really speak of experience, the kids and the young children you witness kind of making such a spiritual growth of when they come in and when they leave your program. We'll talk to you about that coming up in just a few minutes. But first, you did bring some really startling statistics here. 71% of students report incidents of bullying as a problem at their schools. 56% of those students have personally witnessed some type of bullying. Define bullying for me here.
Well, bullying is mean behavior.
Right.
It's unwanted, it's aggressive, it's demeaning, degrading, and disrespectful. And I think what defines bullying is the consistency of it and the targeted nature of that bad behavior.
Right. Bullying's been around since you were a kid. Bullying was around when I was a kid. We still, in this day and age, still get bullied even as adults. Right. What are some of the warning signs? You work with a lot of young kids over at Chris Kids. What are some of the warning signs that you see that someone may be bullied or that someone is a bully?
Right. Well, someone may be bullied if a child is consistently not wanting to go to school, not wanting to go to an activity. There's a reason. And the important thing about warning signs is they're warning signs about something. So you can't always jump to this is bullying, but it's a warning sign or red flag that needs to cause you to ask, is there bullying going on?
And I think, and quickly on that, and I think that parents really need to understand that that is a huge red flag. When your child does not want to go to soccer practice over and over again, if your child doesn't want to go to after-school programs, and your child is constantly saying, no, I don't want to go, Mommy, I don't want to go, Daddy, it's not always that the kid's just being stubborn that they don't want to go. Ask your child why they don't want to go. Have a conversation with them, right?
Right. And if they have health complaints, I have a stomach ache, I can't go. I have a headache.
They've been healthy all day long and then all of a sudden they're not feeling good.
Right. If they're increasingly appear depressed or isolated or withdraw, or they don't want to talk.
What does a parent do though if they think that their child may be bullied? What do they do?
They need to ask questions. They need to say,
do they go to the school? Do they go to the principal?
They need to start with the child.
They need to start with the child.
And because they don't need to jump to conclusions. And they need to ask specific questions like, did anybody push you? Did somebody say something that hurt your feelings or that you liked? So that they're not leading questions.
Right.
Because especially young children can be led.
Right, because they're almost going to give answers that they think mom or dad are seeking.
Right. So to ask questions and ask some of the questions that are used around domestic violence, because bullying is violence.
Right.
It's just
verbal. And usually it's learned behavior from somewhere.
Right.
If they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, right, they're learning that behavior at home. Now, what does a parent do if you think that your child may be out there as the bully?
Well, I think it's really important to note.
A lot of parents don't want to admit that their kid may be the bully on the playground.
And like a third, there was a study done recently, and a third of kids who are victims of bullying are also bullies.
Well, of course. I mean, I think even adults who are bullies now, typically there's history of them being bullied.
Right. And so you have to look at what are some of the factors. And the truth is, people who bully are lacking something within themselves.
Right.
And they're trying to build themselves up very often by having another person, a target, or a group
be put down.
And so if your child is a bully, then there's something going on in that child that needs attention and that could benefit from counseling or help.
A lot of the kids that come through Chris Kids, they usually come from low income, neighborhoods or low income families, possibly cases where they've been taken out of a home because of child abuse and things such as. Can you have an impact on someone who is maybe even 16, 17, 18 years old? Are they too old? Do you kind of give up on them, or can they be changed?
No one is ever too old.
Right.
So intensive counseling at the Chris Counseling Center, we work with kids and families of all ages. And there is hope and there is recovery. There's a story that I have of a client in the counseling center who actually wasn't in foster care but living in their own home, who was bullied so much at school that they were so depressed that they were hospitalized for suicidal ideation. They told mom and dad, but mom said ignore it, dad said fight back. The teacher said they didn't see it. And finally, the student walked off of the school grounds and didn't cooperate. So being uncooperative and leaving situations is another sign. And what happened, the child was homeschooled. We worked with the child and the family intensively. The child's in 8th grade now, going to school and loving it. But it was so bad, the little boy felt like he had no alternative but to kill himself, and would go into a panic attack at even the mention of going to school. The bullying was so horrific. And there was a plan made also, a safety plan with the school. Right. So we supported mom in going to the school and setting limits and expectations that her child be protected and have adults that he could go to if it happened.
And there's also, you know, this conversation that needs to be had, and it's such a fine line about how far do you tell your kid, listen, you've got to learn to stand up for yourself in this world, right? Parents always have that conversation. You've got to stand up for who you are and what you believe in. But there's also a difference in telling your kid to go, hey, go back on the playground and go fight back. Because some kids, that'll scare them, and they don't want to go out there and they don't want to fight back, especially when it becomes to physical, you know,
and
abuse
not only,
back and forth.
Does it scare them, but they get in trouble and suspended from school for fighting back.
Right, and it's not the solution you really want to be teaching your kids at that young of an age.
So I really put it on the adults. Right. It is the adult's job to create a safe space and a safe environment. It is an adult's job to say, so how do you stop bullying? An adult intervenes and says, this is not okay behavior. They define the behavior as unacceptable and disrespectful and name it. There's power in naming, tremendous power in naming. Some research done on LGBT kids in the school system showed that one adult standing up and saying, it's not okay to talk that way. It's not okay to speak to another person that way. Has a huge impact on the psyche.
All right, very good. Kathy, it's so good to have you here on the show. It's good. We can talk for hours on this subject. So good to have you here. Chris Kids, one of the best organizations that I've been a part of here in Atlanta, without a doubt. Keep doing your work.